Today we're going to be getting into the machine learning models predictions for UFC 315. Before we do, let's have a quick look at how things have been going recently. As you can see from the graph, we took a pretty steep downturn this past weekend. Isn't our worst loss ever over a weekend, but it is pretty bad and we're looking to recover from it as quickly as possible. Getting into the specifics of the weekend, we started off with the PFL World Tournament, where we had some weird judging, some of it going our way, some of it not going our way, but ultimately we ended up down 2.77 units. That was followed up by one Fight Night 31, which was mostly a Muay Thai card. The only MMA fight on that card cashed for us, and we profited 1 unit. Then we got into Saturday with UFC Fight Night Des Moines. That card did not go well for us at all. We ended up losing on 7 out of the 12 predictions on that card and dropped 7.33 units. By the end of the weekend, we had taken a loss of almost exactly 9 units. With the sad part out of the way, let's go ahead and get into this weekend's fights. We'll be starting the card off in the featherweight division with a bout between Ji Yong Lee and Daniel Santos. Daniel Santos has taken this on late notice up a weight class. He generally fights at bantamweight. I should probably say he generally pulls out of fights at bantamweight. He's pulled out of 5 out of his last 8 scheduled bouts. Their records look very similar, but Daniel Santos will be giving up several inches in both height and reach. Because of all of the fights he's pulled out of, he's been away from the sport for nearly 2 years now. Despite all of that, he's still a minus 125 favorite at the books, but the 2 prediction models do not agree with this. They're not extremely confident in Lee at 52 and 53%, but they do favor him to win this fight, so we'll be betting 1.5 units on Lee. Next up, we'll be looking at a light heavyweight fight between Iwan Cutelaba and Modestas Bukauskas. These two both had a fight only 77 days ago on the same card, where they both secured a first-round finish. This fight's pretty close to a pick'em at the books, with Bukauskas edging it out at minus 119. Both versions of the model are right in line with that at 56.5 and 54% chance of victory. Because they agree, we'll be placing 1.78 units on Bukauskas here. Staying in the light heavyweight division, we have a matchup between Navajo Sterling and Ivan Erslan. Navajo's still undefeated at 6-0, and with the way things have been going this year, that's actually a bit scary. Erslan is a lot more experienced at 14-4, but that's not enough for the bookmakers here. Navajo's a minus 265 favorite, and both versions of the model lean very heavily in his direction. We will be placing our bet on Sterling in this fight for 4.11 units. The first women's fight of the night is a flyweight matchup between Jasmine Jasdavicius and Jessica Andrade. I had no idea that Jasdavicius was already 36 years old, although that doesn't seem to be holding her back at all, as she's currently riding a 4-fight win streak. She will be coming into this fight with a 6-inch advantage in both height and reach, and the book odds have her as a minus 255 favorite. V1 disagrees here, giving Andrade a 58% chance of victory, but V2 is slightly leaning towards Jasdavicius. We will be betting with V2 as always, so we'll be placing 2.55 units on Jasmine to win this fight. Moving over to the welterweight division, where we have a bout between Mike Malott and Charles Radtke. The recent records of these two guys look extremely similar. They're both coming off of a win with a loss just before that. They've both won 7 of their last 8 bouts. And Mike Malott is 4-1 in the UFC, while Radtke is 3-1 in the UFC. The learning models reflect these similarities, with Mike Malott just slightly edging out both versions at 54 and 52%, while the book odds are much more wide, still favoring Malott, but at negative 235. I've placed a bet on Mike in this fight for 3.52 units. The only middleweight matchup on this card is a race to the bottom between Marc-Andre Barriault and Bruno Silva. Burial's UFC record is 5-8, and he's currently on a 3-fight losing streak, while Silva is 4-6 in the UFC and currently on a 4-fight losing streak. I feel like the middleweight division would probably do fine without these two guys in it, and very soon that might just be the case. Burial's a minus 150 favorite at the books, with Bruno Silva coming back at plus 130. V1 does prefer Silva as the underdog here, but V2 likes Burial very slightly at 50.5%. We're betting V2 as always, so we'll be putting 1.5 units on Burial to get the win here. We'll be closing out the prelims in the bantamweight division with a bout between Beksat Almakhan and Brad Katona. Beksat will be making his second UFC walk and looking to secure his first promotional win, while Katona will also be looking to bounce back from a loss in his last fight. Beksat will be very slightly taller and have a 3.5-inch reach advantage. It's also notable that he's been away for 434 days since his last fight, which can be substantial for some fighters. Despite this, he's still a minus 183 favorite at the books, and both versions of the model lean very heavily in his direction, somewhere between 60 and 70%. We'll be betting on Beksat as a small favorite in this fight for 2.74 units. We'll be sticking around the bantamweight division to open the main card with a matchup between Ayman Zahabi and Jose Aldo. Both of these guys are on the older side for bantamweight, and despite being very close in age, there's a stark difference in experience here, with Jose Aldo having more than twice as many fights as Zahabi. At the books, Jose is a moderate minus 220 favorite, but neither of the models agree here. V1 is leaning towards Zahabi at 51.5%, while V2 is very heavily in his favor at 63%. My best guess is that Zahabi's currently riding a 5-fight win streak, while Jose Aldo's taken some recent losses. I don't personally agree with this play, but I do what the model says, so I'll be placing 1.5 units on Ayman Zahabi. The feature bout on this card is a women's flyweight matchup between former champ Alexa Grasso and Natalia Silva. Grasso will finally be seeing a new face in the octagon after a trilogy of bouts with Valentina Shevchenko, where she won one, went to a draw, and then ended up losing in her last outing. Silva, on the other hand, is looking to set herself up for a future title fight. She's currently riding a 12-fight win streak and would unquestionably be next in line for a title fight with a win over Grasso. Silva's a moderate minus 220 favorite at the books, and the two versions of the learning model do not agree here. V1 thinks that Alexa Grasso gets it done, while V2 is leaning towards Silva. We will be betting Silva in this fight as the favorite for 2.2 units. With any luck, Natalia Silva's next opponent will be decided in the co-main event when Valentina Shevchenko and Manon Fiorot face off for the women's flyweight title. Since moving down to flyweight in 2019, Shevchenko has only lost a single fight. On top of that, she was one of the best in the world at bantamweight, only losing to who's widely regarded as the best women's fighter in the world, Amanda Nunes. Fiorot also has an incredibly impressive record of 12-1. She hasn't suffered a loss since her professional debut, and even that one was a split decision. Manon is a small minus 150 favorite at the books, and I'm quite surprised that both versions of the model agree with this. V1 has her at 59%, while V2 is just slightly in favor at 52%. We will be betting Manon in this fight for 2.25 units. The main event for UFC 315 will be a welterweight title fight between Jack Della Maddalena and Belal Muhammad. JDM's record is crazy, man. He was stopped in his first two fights and has gone on a 17-fight run since then, stopping 14 of his opponents. I don't know what happened, but once that dude got going, he never looked back. Belal is also on a good run. He's gone 11 fights undefeated, with 10 of those being wins and one of them ending in a no contest. He's looking to make his first defense this weekend, and if I had to guess, he'll try to do it in the most boring way he possibly can. But at least both versions of the model think that we might get some excitement. Bilal's a minus 208 favorite at the books, but both models think that Jack Della Maddalena is able to get it done. I don't agree with this play, but I do hope that JDM is able to get this one done quickly and add a little bit of excitement back to the welterweight division. We'll be placing 1.5 units on JDM for the upset. UFC 315 has 11 total fights on it right now. Of those, we're betting on 8 of the favorites and 3 underdogs. 5 of the favorites are confident picks from the machine learning models, as well as all 3 of the underdogs. Our risk is very low at only 25 units, and our potential gain is also pretty low at 17.5, which would net us a nearly 70% ROI. We do have 3 other cards to bet on this weekend, including PFL MENA, PFL Europe, and LFA. So if you'd like to see what the model thinks about those fights, check out the Patreon. I'll be posting those bets up just as soon as lines are available. That's all I've got for you on this card. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks for watching and good luck on all your bets this weekend.